Hi, I was asked at the weekend about how to make your own cut-ups, and now I've kind of evolved the way I do mine over time. But what I'm going to show you here is going to be a really the basic setup, and I'll give you pointers on how you can then expand it and customize it yourself. So I start with public domain books, but I also use movie scripts for my own use. When I was playing the Ghostbusters RPG solo, you can get the Ghostbusters movie scripts it's kind of free for personal use and for educational use. So for my own game, I could easily, use the script and cut it up and play with it. So in this case, for an ongoing game, I wanted some stuff to do with kind of occultism and some strange stuff. And I found this book um, about delusions and madness of crowds, and this is one I want to use. Now, I picked this book because it had things like hallucinations and illusions, occultism, delusions, alchemy. So the book uh, it is going to give me the kind of content that I want. Now, you have the choice of HTML, EPUBs, Kindles, plain text. I always go for the HTML, and this is what you get. Now, this particular book has lots of illustrations, and you'd have seen in some of my cut-up books, I put all the illustrations at the back, so you can kind of flick through the pages and pick pictures, or grab an image and think that's your NPC, so you can visualize them. Now, you don't want all the text. You don't want this license at the top. And if you look at how much kind of front matter there is here, we've got the title page, then we've got a basic contents, and then we get an expanded contents. Then you get a list of all the engravings, and then you get the author stuff. And then I've started selecting from here. Now, for this demo, I'm only going to take a small bit of text. When I do this for myself, I'm going to pick particular blocks of text. So I'm going to highlight and copy that into a Word document. Now, if I skip to the bottom, you don't want the huge long license at the end, but this particular book had an absolutely massive index as well, and I wouldn't want to copy that in. And then above the index, let's skip up a bit faster. Above the index was um, a whole list of footnotes, so I don't want those either. So the actual book ends here. So I would do a click at the top and then shift click to the bottom and just take what I want and skip everything that I don't want. And then you can go into Word and go to not the main paste, but go to paste and then keep text only. Okay, and that will drop the text into your Word document and you can work on it later. Right. Now, you need some macros. I use macros to chop these up. Almost any word processor supports macros these days. So do decent text editors, and they work much faster in a text editor than they do in Word because the plain text carries far less data with it. But we're going to use Word because it's really kind of easy and comfortable to work with. So this macro here is called CutUp, and it is going to uh, do two jobs. The first bit going from Selection.Find.ClearFormatting through to Selection.Find.Execute Replaceall. That block is going to find new paragraph marks. That's that little hat P here, and replace them with spaces. And what that's going to do is take all of our text and condense it down into one big block. If I go to our text here, effectively the macro is going to do it's going to bring up the find, and there's the little hat. If I type that on my keyboard, it's Shift number 6 and then hat P. Replace it with a space. When I replace, well, if I just do find next and replace, can you see that it's brought that up? If I find next and replace, find next and replace, it's condensing all of the text. If I replace all, there you go, it's turned it into one massive block. So that the macro will do that for you automatically. So later on, what you can do is, as you cut off a few text and you find that you get odd things left behind, you can copy and paste that entire top block, and replace what is in this dot text line and in the dot replacement.text line, and refine how it, and clean up your text. Over time, I have evolved. I go through hundreds of these find and replace of actions to replace all kinds of stuff that gets left behind. Now, the second bit is this do loop until section, and it will move right in whole words for 5 words. And what that means is that you can use Control and the right arrow in Word and in most text editors to, instead of skipping forward a character at a time, skip through a whole word. If you can watch the little flashing cursor, each press of the keyboard is jumping forward an entire word, but it will treat, say, that open bracket as a word, then selection as a word, then the period as a word, then end as a word, then the equals. So its idea of a word is not necessarily what a human would call a word, which is why you will end up with some odd characters at the beginning of a cut-up, which is where building your own find and replace afterwards to try and remove these odd things is useful. If you reduce that number 5, you will get shorter cut-ups, and if you increase it, you'll get longer cut-ups. But that's what we've got here. So now we're going to copy all of that because we want it. And the name here is CutUp with a capital C, capital U, so it's called a camel case CutUp. So we're going to go to View, Macros, Record Macro. And we're going to call it CutUp with capital C and a capital U and say OK. Now, all we're going to do is I'm going to press space and then backspace. Macro, stop recording. So in essence, we've got a completely empty macro that's going to do nothing because it adds a space and then takes the space away. Go to macros again, view macros and edit. See CutUp there, that's my top macro, and click edit. And if you look right down in the corner here, you've got the sub CutUp, some little comments there, end sub, so completely empty macro. We are going to highlight all of that and replace it with the macro text, which you'll find in the blog post and in the comments of this video. So there you go. Everything that we talked about is now in there. And we can close that and we are good to go. So now going back to here we go. Here's the text I pasted in, and we go to view macro, view macros, there's CutUp, and we run it, and when I hit run, you will see it very briefly compress everything up and then start chopping it into the macros. There, did you see the very quick compression? And it is now chopping this all into CutUps. And can you see how you get these odd things where, say, lines starting with a comma, then a space, and a period and a space there, and there might be some other strange things that we find. So I didn't put a huge amount of text in there, so it's just going to run through those. Once you've got them is the cut-ups, you can use your own find and replace. You can find, comma, space, and just a new line with a comma and a space, and then remove them and clean up your cut-ups. You can find other stuff that it leaves in here, and you think, I don't want that. You may not want M spaces or M dashes, or square brackets or whatever. The text you cut up will come with different artifacts which you can remove. Once you've got that, you can paste that into a spreadsheet or Google Sheet, and you can add numbers down the side. And as soon as you've got numbers down the side, you can roll dice to find them. Depending on your level of skill with the or knowledge with the spreadsheet, you can start to use vertical lookups, and get the spreadsheet to randomize over however many thousands of cut-ups you've got, and that's what I do with my little blocks. But also you can use the built-in find feature if you wanted to, if I particularly wanted something on, say, alchemy, I could, or I just saw something about the gold and silver coins. If I wanted gold and silver coins, I could just search for gold, and it would show me all of the references to gold in the spreadsheet. So that's it. So looking back up here, I personally would want to fix all these lines starting with a comma and a space. So I would search for that happy comma space, and it will find those, and I would replace them with a simple happy. So it would remove the new line followed by a comma and a space, and just put it in with a plain new line. In fact, I'll do that for you. So Control H. So it starts with a happy comma space, and I will simply replace that with a happy. If anyone wants to tell me the correct name for that little hat character, I'll be very happy. Right, if I click replace all, it's made 82 replacements, and look, they've all gone. Is there anything else? Okay, so that one starts with a period and a space, so I could do the same thing. Happy period space, and just replace it with a happy. Is there anything else in here? Semicolon space. So you can either just live with it, because it's for your own personal consumption, or you can fix them. Your choice. So there you go. There's the your cut ups, and then paste it into a spreadsheet, add numbers, and you can roll against it. Okay, that's it. That's how it all works. Thank you for watching.